All right. Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Ruchak Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is We Were Set to Warn You, or We Were Set Up to Warn You, something along those lines. And pretty much this is the title that came to me yesterday. I was reading some of this book here that the Elder Damashapat has in his house. It's called Biblica, the Bible Atlas, a social and historical journey through the lands of the Bible. This is the book here. As you can see, they have a devil on the cover, but never mind that. And pretty much I went and I read through the table of contents. And as I was reading through the table of contents, one of the things that popped out to me was part 5, which dealt with the prophets and the righteous. So what I did was I grabbed the book and I was going to turn to that page, to read a little bit about it. And as soon as I opened the book, it went right to the exact page that I was looking for, which is this page right here. So I started reading, and as I read the first paragraph, which I thought was pretty heavy, that's when I decided to do a lesson on this particular subject, because that is the job of a prophet. The job of a prophet is to warn the people, whether they like it or not. And this is why the books of Ezekiel, the 2nd and 3rd chapter, are very important to prophecy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read Ezekiel 3 and 17 to start off before I actually read this paragraph. And we're going to read a little bit through here. I didn't get a chance to read it, all the way through because, like I said, I was compelled to do a lesson on this just based off of the first paragraph. But the book of Ezekiel 3 and 17 says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. And this is, we're a watchman, meaning to watch over the house of Israel, to warn them from the Most High was coming, but we're also prophets unto the nations to let them know what's going to go down and what's happening, in these times and what their future is. When we read Jeremiah, the 1st chapter and the 5th verse, it says, Behold, I formed thee from the belly. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. And you can't make yourself a prophet. You either are a prophet or you're not. And, we say that we're the hopeful elect because we're hoping to be the elect. And a prophet will be given constant inspiration from the heavens, from Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, to do this work, to teach this word, to constantly warn, and to, be out here giving sense and identifying things that are written in the scriptures that have to deal with prophecy. They also have to deal with mysteries. Such as when we go to the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter, which are scriptures that, we already know. And I'm going to go, just bear with me 1 second. Alright, so we go to Amos chapter 3. We'll start at the 6th verse because the 6th verse is important. It says, Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? So a trumpet is what? An alarm of war. And when an alarm of war is blown, the people are going to be afraid. It says, Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord had not done it? So this is a question. Or these are questions. And whenever you see evil in the city, it's the Lord that's done it. But there's always warnings, even if it happens unexpectedly, there will be reports on it constantly, and the people will get nervous because one thing people do not like is they don't like their lives and the way things go to be disrupted, you know, because they have been programmed, especially here in the West, to live a comfortable life. This is why Yahweh said, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be when the Son of Man comes back. As in the days of Lot. So people are going to be going through business as usual, and all of a sudden, these things that the prophets have been speaking about, such as the MOTB, the concentration camps, hard times, Jacob's trouble, and ultimately World War III and the destruction of America, Babylon the Great, will happen, and they're going to be, even though they've been warned, they take it lightly because ain't nothing really happening to them at the time. So they're going to continue to push, that narrative of, living a better life, ever since the fathers fell asleep, from the beginning, everybody's been talking about the same thing, the end of the world. And that's not going to happen until, my grandchildren and their grandchildren, or whatever the case may be. People have been talking about this for a millennium, that the end is coming and this and that and the other, and people have been waiting for the end, and they've been waiting for the return of the Lord, the Messiah, so on and so forth, and ain't nothing happening, and has nothing happened. But what it is, they're not focused on the prophecies that are taking place right before their eyes. And what makes this time different from those other times is the technology that we have out here, by way of information being pushed out there. One thing that Yahweh said is, when this gospel is published throughout the four corners of the earth, then the end shall come. That publishing of this knowledge would be impossible to do worldwide had it not been for the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh to give Esau, the technology of the internet to be able to communicate across the globe, in a matter of seconds. And this is what we're seeing happening right now. And the prophets are out here giving warning of the end, and they're making full use of their talents, and they're making full use of the technology that the Lord set up to push this word, because hard times are coming. So when we go back to Amos 3 and verse 7, it says, surely the Lord power will do nothing. Because what was the thought prior to this verse? It was, shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord have not done it? But before the Lord do any of these things, it says, surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. So we're at the point now where the revelation of these things is coming to pass. And the prophets that hear the warnings, that hear the voice of the voice of the shepherd, Yahweh Shai, are out here giving the warning of these things that are happening and coming to pass. It says the lion hath roared. Who will not fear? Right. If somebody heard a roaring lion, they're going to be scared because lions are very fierce. So the Lord, through his prophets, is that lion that's roaring. But the problem is that people are not afraid because they're not being touched. Their livelihood is not being touched. Their health is not being touched. Their wealth is not being touched. Their lives, are continuing on still as they were normal. It's business as usual. But the time is coming where, it's going to happen. People are going to start feeling the crunch. Like right now, we know about this 50-cent cheeseburgers at McDonald's and the 1-cent cheeseburgers at Wendy's. And pretty much, there are reports. I don't know. I haven't confirmed any of it yet, but there are reports. There was this one video we were watching yesterday that stated this woman was in the emergency room I believe it was for her daughter or somebody that she was related to. And she went in there, and she saw a lot of people coming in sick, and she was questioning them as to what, why they were there, and they were all complaining about those burgers that they ate, that messed them up, and they had like flu-like symptoms. Like, we don't know if it's actually true, if that was just, some type of ploy for attention or for views. But we know that something ain't right about that. Them giving Jake 1 cent cheeseburger and 50-cent cheeseburgers. That should be a serious red flag. And when I was speaking to Elder Damashpat yesterday, he mentioned that it's convenient that that stuff is happening now, that they're supposed to be blasting this signal on October 4th, as they say. We'll see what happens, so we don't know what the fuck is in them cheeseburgers, but one thing we know, it ain't nothing good. But the point is, the lion hath roared, who will not fear? The Lord power hath spoken, who can but prophesy? And we're coming into these times. And the only ones that are going to be protected in these times are the elect of the nation of Israel. And even some of them, especially the spokespersons, the heralds, the prophets, some of them will be touched, because this is the way that the Lord is using them to glorify his holy name. All right. So going from there, let's go to Isaiah 62:6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls. And that's the thing. You receive this knowledge as a man, as an Israelite man. Your job is to be a watchman, to watch what's going on and report what's going on. Whether it's news articles of prophecy that are happening, whether it's getting on false prophets, pretty much, about their doctrine and correcting their doctrine in the hopes that they may see the error of their ways and turn around and teach the right doctrine, or whatever the case may be, whatever the Lord has given us to speak about, these mysteries. So it says, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, because there's no actual walls nowadays around Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a people before it's a place. But the walls that are around Jerusalem is the protection afforded first and foremost by the names of Yahweh and Yahushai, which is the names of the Heavenly Father and His Son, and the doctrine, this truth that's being taught out here. That beginning with Great Millstone is, teaching, and other men the like that are also, teaching the same doctrine. Now you do have some out there that are teaching about Israel, teaching about keeping the laws, teaching about certain things in the scriptures, but they're not giving you the full picture of what's coming. They're not giving you the full warning of what's coming. Therefore, they would be considered as hirelings and not the true shepherds, of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So it says, which shall never hold their peace day nor night, right? Because you'll have videos going out day and night, round the clock. And the beautiful thing is with this internet is no matter what time you get up, you can do a lesson. Right now it's a little after 6 in the morning, and Spirit is on me to do this lesson. I wanted to do it yesterday, but we were on the road all day, so I didn't get a chance to do a lesson, but nevertheless, here we are right now, early in the morning, bringing it out, and then there's brothers that are up late at night doing lessons, and there's brothers across the pond on the other side of the world that while everyone here in America is sleeping, on this side of the world sleeping, they're up doing the work. Whether they're at camp, or whether they're doing sit downs, or whether they're doing walking talks, or whether they're doing, lessons outside, going live from wherever, at the job, or whatever the case may be. So it says, they will never hold their peace day nor night. Ye that make mention of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, keep not silence. In other words, don't hide your talent in a napkin. We were given talents to trade on on the open spiritual stock exchange, the spiritual stock market. And that's what the internet is. We have talents, which is the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the true understanding of it, which is the money of the Lord. There's a word in the scripture called the earnest of the Spirit. Now there's some parts of the earnest that speaks about just being sincere with the word, and other parts of earnest means the money that was invested or given to us to trade. And we're supposed to be trading it. We're supposed to be the righteous or the wise virgins, and not the foolish virgins. Let me see something. Let me see if this is it right here. 2 Corinthians 5:5. Now he that had wrought us for the self same thing is the Most High, who also hath given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Now let me see if this is the one. We look up the word earnest. The earnest of the Spirit. That one there is arabon, which means an earnest. Money which in purchases is given as a pledge or down payment that the full amount will subsequently be paid. And pretty much what we receive is a down payment in the Spirit, which is this word. So the Lord invested in all of us, and we're hoping, to be, the righteous, elect, and that we can capitalize on the investment made with us by this money that was entrusted to us, which is this knowledge, this truth that we preach out here. Right? It says money which in purchases is given as a pledge or down payment that the full amount will subsequently be paid. Right? Because we've been given, this truth, this knowledge as a down payment. This truth is money. The Lord invested in us, and He wants a return. Whenever anybody invests capital in anything, they're not investing capital in anything to lose. They're investing capital in whatever venture it is to gain. And this is what we're supposed to be doing out here. We're supposed to gain by trading. Let me see. We're supposed to gain interest on the Lord's money by trading it out here. And what do? We invest our time and our efforts into this knowledge in the hopes of receiving a reward at the end. We're not, investing just to, we're not just here just doing the work just for the hell of it. We're here investing time into the Lord's work because this is what the Lord entrusted us with. Out of all the Israelites out of all the, billions of Israelite men out there and billions of Israelites, period, we've been entrusted with this. We've been given this talent. The Lord opened this up to us, so we should feel very privileged to receive this truth, this knowledge, because this is not given to everybody. This is a very precious thing that we're receiving, So Romans 12:1, it says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, because through the mercies of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, He woke us up, because He could have left us out there like the rest of these jakes out there, getting, the V, eating them 50-cent and 1 cent burgers, cheeseburgers. We could have been out there. We could have been the Big Shirleys and the Pookies and the Ray Rays and the Keishas out there. But the Lord, for some reason, had mercy enough on us, to invest His talent upon us. So we, as the men, of Israel, should take that talent and spend it wisely, out here on these streets, you know, for the Lord. It says that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, and that's exactly what it means, because we are the sacrifice right now. The things that come out of our mouth can either be to the glory of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai or to shame. You know? So we're the living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. It's just like, you know, sacrificing a clean animal, but not just a clean animal, but a animal without spot that is pleasing to the Lord. And that's what our sacrifices out here are to the Lord. Because every time we go out here on the streets and teach the word and present our bodies a living sacrifice, that is a sweet savor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Alright? So Luke chapter 19 and verse 15, it says, and it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, this is the, just bear with me 1 second, this is dealing with Yahushai. Then the caption says, parable of money usage. You know? So yeah, this is the certain nobleman that went into the far country. That certain nobleman is Yahushai. You know, and he went to a far country, meaning he went up to the heavens, to the spirit world, to receive a kingdom, you know, to give to us. You know, first for him and then for us. So when we read further down, it says, and it came to pass that when he was returned, having received the kingdom, because he already was glorified in the heavens, we just haven't seen him glorified in the earth yet, which we're going through the process of introducing our Messiah, our Savior, Yahushua, on the earth. It says, then he commanded these servants to be called unto him. Right, so the servants represent who? The prophets, and it represents the false prophets too, to whom he had given the money, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. And how do you trade? By going out here, presenting your bodies a living sacrifice out in the streets, you know, and pushing out the money of the Lord, which is this truth. So we look up the word had gained by trading. It's di apragmatuyu omahi. It's a mouthful. It says thoroughly, earnestly to undertake a business. So this is a business investment that the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai made with us. And our job is to push it out there to the, you know, to the masses, to everybody, to the world. And the only ones that are going to be saved or delivered by this message are the elect of the nation of Israel. The rest will be condemned. And the nations, beginning with Esau, will be condemned. Because remember, we're prophets, not just to Israel, but to the nations. It says to undertake a business for sake of gain. Now some invested wisely. Others invested wisely, but just not as much as the other ones. And they both received the reward. And some have not invested at all. They've hid that money, put it in a napkin, talking about they're going to give it back to the Lord when he comes back. He ain't looking for the money back, you know, as far as what he gave you. He wants you to invest that money, more money. You know, that's why he invested this. All right? So, with that being said, let's read this first paragraph here of this book. It says, preserving the faith. Believe in the Lord your power and you will be established. Believe his prophets. That's 2 Chronicles 20 and 20. And that doesn't sound like the King James Version, but it may just be. Let me see. 2 Chronicles chapter 20. Let me see what it says there. Right, enemies destroy themselves. It says, 2 Chronicles 20:20. And they rose early in the morning, the prophets, and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, no, that's not the prophets. Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, believe in the Lord your power, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, so shall you prosper. So it is King James. All right. So let me read that last part again. Believe in the Lord your power, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, so shall you prosper. All right. And pretty much that's. So I guess the way they did it, they just pretty much they summarized it. They didn't really write the whole scripture down. But it says, after the death of King David, the rulers and the people of Israel and Judah repeatedly forsook the Lord power of Israel, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, worshipping false gods and abandoning themselves to greed and depravity. And that's pretty much what we see right now. Even these false prophets that are rising up, that are supposed to be the leaders of Israel, they're pretty much selling themselves to do evil for greed, for self-glory, for gain, using the word of the Lord to make money. And I was watching, there's some clips, the Elder Pastor did a video, with that Vocab. It was an interview that Vocab had with the ICGJC, beginning with that Basil character, which he wasn't at One West when we were there. I'm not sure what year he came in, but it was in the late 90s. Because the main split at the school happened in 1995. This is when Lahab, or High Priest Lahab as he was called back then, and the men that were with him left. There was a whole thing that goes into that. I'm not really going to speak much on that because I wasn't actually, at One West when this was happening, but I was in Connecticut. So I don't know all the details just from what I heard, but that's neither here nor there. But the first split happened in 95. That's when Lahab and a good portion of men left with him. Then the very next year, I believe it was 96, that's when the next split happened between King Masha and High Priest Ariel. Of course, at the behest of Bishop Nathaniel and others, pushed them to leave the school. And then, after that, I believe it was the following year, 97, if I'm not mistaken, that's when we got kicked out. And that's when we were pretty much on our own. So I don't remember that dude Basil being in anywhere near there. So he had to come after that time period, and there was a point that I was that just came to mind of something he had said. I believe it was he had said something about that. We took the 12 tribes breakdown that belonged to High Priest Ariel, which really doesn't belong to High Priest Ariel. It belongs to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, who gave it to him to give to us. And we continued on teaching what was being taught. And Vocab, that devil, cut the shit out of them because they said that we left with King Masha. But he said, but wait a minute, didn't they make an oath to be loyal to the king or something along those lines? And they was kind of like stunned for a moment, and then they were, that part of the teaching wasn't correct or something along those lines. They had said, Lord's will after this, I'll go back and watch that little clip. But the point is, Vocab cut him again. Because they're talking about how the doctrine was taught and everything, but there was a lot that was being taught. There are certain things that were being taught that were not right, like the year 2000 prophecy. That wasn't correct, but that was something that was being taught, and it wasn't just being taught by Great Millstone. All of the men that were back there were teaching the same thing, but we get to wear all of the bad stuff. Great Millstone gets to wear, because we're the offscouring, as the Apostle Paul said. But nevertheless, that is true. We made an oath that we believe and still believe that King Masha is King David. And that's the bottom line. All right? I believe there was something else, but nevertheless, you know, let's go back to this here. So you have these sellouts out here among Israel that are leaders that the Lord is going to deal with. It says, so back to the book, it says, so the Most High appointed prophets, visionaries, whose vocation was to denounce the wickedness of the Israelites and to warn them of the punishment that the Most High would surely exact. And this is what our job is, to warn the people of the things that are coming. Then it says, evil kings were reproved by enlightened men who sought to guide the people back into the way of the Lord. And that's heavy because Ephesians, the first chapter, goes into that. Ephesians 1 and 18. It says, the eyes of your understanding being what? Enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. Yeah, because some hear the word but don't see the vision. Others hear the word and they see the vision. See? Because the majority of Jake are not visionaries. Their thing is just to see what is in front of them at the time. They cannot see past what is in front of them. If they can't tangibly see it, they don't believe it. 2 Corinthians 4:18, it says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, meaning temporary. This world is temporary. This world was set up to show how it is to be wicked and to show the punishment of the wicked. So it's temporary. It's also set up to allow all of the heathen nations to rule before the Lord established the true righteous kingdom of heaven, beginning with Yahushua and then the rest of Israel. It says, but the things which are not seen are what? Eternal. And the prophets see this, but the rest do not. Just another precept that came to mind. Let me see if it pops up. I believe it's right. Hebrews 11 and 13. It says, these all died in the faith, meaning all of our forefathers, great men, Abraham and the such of that righteous ilk. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them. Why? Because they saw the vision. If you don't have the vision, you won't be able to understand or even know the severity or the importance of doing the work and pushing forward. And embrace them. Why? Because they saw them in the distance. They were visionaries. And confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Right? Because we are citizens of heaven. But right now, we don't have a kingdom. We only have the first part of the kingdom, which represents the knowledge that we're learning. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, this truth. This is what we have as visionaries. But the majority of Jake out here are not visionaries. They only can see what's in front of them. So going back to Ephesians 1:18, the eyes of your understanding being what? Enlightened. Now when we go to this word enlightened, I just want to see what it says. The word is fotizo. Fotizo. And it says to give light, to shine, to enlighten, light up, illumine. Right, because we are the true Illuminati in righteousness, not that nonsense that you that you see, with these devils, the international banking families. No, nothing. It ain't nothing. Got nothing to do with that. When we go to Baruch, the 4th chapter, I'll start at the 1st verse. This is the book of the commandments of the Most High, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Right, because this is our protection. This is our shade, in a dry and weary land. The land of heat, which is about to, the heat is about to be turned up. And Satan is coming down heavy and hard on brothers, trying to, dissuade them, trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? No, I mean, for lack of better words, is another word for it, but trying to convince them, that this is not the truth, or, to give up because it's too hard, or whatever the case may be. But as the Lord told Ezra, or the angel told Ezra, this is the condition of the battle. A warrior's life is never comfortable. A warrior's life is full of hardships, and somehow, some way, he musters up the energy to fight through it all. And that's the resolve that's given from Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and this is a part of being a visionary, being given that, mineral to endure and fight no matter what happens, no matter how hard the battle gets. Just keep on fighting, keep on pushing through. And that can only come if there's a direct connection from the heavens, and the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai gives that inspiration to continue on and doing the work. Because this is where it's at. It says, turn thee, O Jacob, it says, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof. And we do have the light. Who is that light? Yahushua. That thou mayest be illuminated. See, like we read in the book of Ephesians. The eyes of your understanding being enlightened. Alright? So, let's go back and let's finish. Oh, and then when you keep on reading for the word for tizo, it says to instruct, to inform, teach. That's a part of the enlightenment. To give understanding to. And that is our job, to give understanding to. So that others, like ourselves, Lord's will, we be the men of the Lord, can be enlightened. So Ephesians 1:18, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. That's the hope. The vision. That's the anchor. To keep us anchored in place. So, going to Ezekiel, the 2nd chapter, the 9th verse, it says, and when I looked, behold, an hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. A roll of a book was therein. And that book represents the Bible. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, because you have words on the inside of the pages of the Bible, and you have words on the outside of the Bible, on the cover. It says, and there was written therein, meaning within the book, lamentations and mourning and woe. So you have all these things written in here. Because this is what's coming. A sore calamity is coming. Jacob's trouble is coming. And the only way to escape Jacob's trouble is to be a part of the elect and to hold on to this precious knowledge. And knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Because the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. And from that we'll be able to draw out of the wells of salvation. Which is this truth, this knowledge. Which is very precious. But most don't hold it as such. because there's nothing there to hold on to. But there is a great benefit in keeping these things, because that great benefit will come as a reward. Remember, the Apostle Peter asked Yahushua, we gave up everything. What are we going to receive in return? And Yahushua said, you that have given up everything will receive 100-fold. Women, children, houses, riches, so on and so forth. The scriptures say that on the right hand of the Lord are pleasures evermore. And Yahushua said, because he is the book, he is the word. He said that I have not seen, neither ear heard the things which the Lord hath prepared for them that love him. And how do we love the Lord? If you love me, feed my sheep, feed my lambs. It's simple. But you have to be a part of the elect to receive it. So when we read at the first verse of Ezekiel 2:1, it says, and he said unto me, Son of man, stand upon thy feet, and I will speak unto thee. And the Spirit entered into me when he spake unto me, and set me upon my feet, that I heard him that spake unto me. And he said unto me, Son of man, I send thee to the children of Israel, because this is who the message of salvation is to, the children of Israel. When Yahushua came on the scene, he came to be a savior for his people, the Israelites, nobody else. When we read about the Greeks and the Gentiles in the New Testament that salvation was open to, these are Israelite foreigners that were scattered among the nations, who had the same opportunity as the ones in Jerusalem to receive salvation if they believed in the Messiah Yahushua, or believed in Yahweh through the Messiah Yahushua. So the message of salvation of this book is only for the nation of Israel, nobody else. And these devils are upset because they're not included. And that's why they're trying to demonize the very thing, the very bastion of hope, which is this truth, that we have. That's why they're trying to, cast doubt and shame and denigration upon the Israelites. Because that's their only hope of dissuading Jake from coming to this. But what they don't understand is that that's the great sifter that the Lord is using to get rid of the ones he doesn't want, or to deter the ones that he doesn't want. Then you have false prophets out there, that have a seducing spirit on them, that are lying to their congregation, and many are going towards that way, because it's a wide way. But that's another sifting process. The Lord is doing that with Vocab. He's doing that with Bishop Nathaniel. He's doing that with General Yohana. He's doing that with Elder Rakar, Bubble-Eyed Blackfish as we call him, and others, to lead them away from the truth, because that is a great sifting process. And like Elder Damashapad said, he said, the Lord's doing that so we don't have to deal with them ninjas. And that's a beautiful thing. So all of these sifting agents are set up out here. All of these traps are set out here. Remember, Yahushua said he was the jinn and the snare. The angel, or actually Simeon, the old man, told Mary that this child is set up for the fall and rise of many in Israel. So there's a lot going on right now, prophecy-wise and more. But if you don't have the vision, if you're not enlightened, you won't see the benefit of it. It says, to a rebellious nation that has rebelled against me, they and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day. The very day this was said to Ezekiel, and all the way up until this very day right now, today. We're in, what is today? Today is September 22nd, 2023, the hopeful year that Yahweh Shemel shall fulfill all his prophecy. And we hope that that is such the case, because, we all the brothers have the same sentiment. From the oldest to the youngest, we want to get the fuck out of here. We're tired of this shit. But we have to endure to the end. It says, for they are impudent children and stiff-hearted, right? Meaning they're not wise. You know, they don't consider the Lord. They don't consider the things that have been spoken of. They don't consider, you know, the prophecies that are speaking right in their face. They don't see it because they don't have the vision. The word for impudent is the word kusha, hard, cruel, severe, obstinate. Something that's obstinate is hard. Hard, difficult, severe, fierce, intense, vehement. So in other words, through this stiff neck, they refuse to hear and to see the vision of the Lord that he gave to his prophets. It says, I do send thee unto them, and thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So if we are to speak, we are to speak the oracles of the Lord and warn them of the things that's coming. The hell with all this debating and, you know, well, I'm going to prove to you that we have the truth. No. The Lord said whether they hear, whether they forbear. He didn't set up the prophets to go and debate. You know, he set up the prophets to tell the message. Hear the message, see the vision, go tell the message. Warn them of me before I bring these things forth. That's what the Lord said. Because once he brings these things forth, it's going to be too late for those that didn't take heed. They didn't hear the trumpet. They didn't prepare themselves. Therefore, they will be caught in that storm that's coming. And they, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there has been a prophet among them. So they're going to know the true prophets that have been among them. And they're going to know that they've been lied to by these seducing spirit false prophets out here. And the main thing we're warning them, or the main wolf we're warning them about, is the MOTB being the micro C-hip. And the whole world is heading in that direction. There's so much evidence of this thing that it's, you know, overwhelming. You know, it's undeniable. This is why you had even Bishop Nathaniel, you know, speaking about the digital currency. Because he's a fox. You know? And he's a, you know, very slick. I call him All Can Harry from Mighty Mouse. You know? And pretty much he knows that if he doesn't speak on that, it's coming because he sees it coming. You know? And he knows if he doesn't speak on that, that, you know, it's here. So to cover his ass, he spoke on it just so he can say, you know, well, if you listen good, moron, I never said there wasn't going to be. We spoke about it. We did a lesson in such and such a date. The dude is very slick. But you ain't slicker than the one who created slickness. You know? And although they're still denying that the MOTB is a micro C-hip, we're going to see what's going to happen when they establish that as payment. What are they going to say then? And we're seeing it being established now. Everything is leading that direction. Eye scans, palm scans, you know, everything going biometric as a form of payment, touchless transactions happening. Now you wave your credit card or debit card over these different devices that take your information. You know, they have palm readers out there. You know, they have hand, you know, places where you can put your hand at once these devices are inserted into the people. And what these false prophets going to do then? It says, and thou son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words, though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou dost dwell among scorpions. So you got to remember, we're dwelling among scorpions, we're dwelling among thorns and briars, useless things that are going to be used to fuel the fire here in America, Babylon the Great. So let them be. Let it be. Let it be. You know, let it be. Because eventually they're going to know who was telling them the truth and who was lying to them. It is going to be evident. The Lord is going to make it evident. You're going to either stand on the right side or the left side. Bottom line. That's why we don't stress too much. I mean, we get excited, we get angry sometimes because, of the zeal of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, but ultimately we understand that these things must be so. You have to have both sides of the coin. You have to have the opposition. You have to have the true prophets, you have to have the false prophets. The true prophets are less than the false prophets. And Jake loves that, that broad way. They have that herd mentality, where they'll follow a big multitude. It's got to be the right thing because look at how many followers are following this. You have the false pipers out there that are leading the rats down the trail to be drowned. It says, be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. And Jake, man, when you want to talk about rebelliousness, Jake is the epitome of that. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. So no matter if they hear or not, no matter if they believe or not, because our concern is not whether they believe it or not. Our concern is to tell, to tell it, to run tell it. Tell it like it is. Romans chapter 3 verse 3. For what if some did not believe? So what if you have some Israelites out there that don't believe? Don't believe that the MOTB is a micro C hip. They don't believe the end is coming. They don't believe in Jacob's trouble. They don't believe that the destruction is coming. They don't believe America will ever go down. Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? So is that going to make the Most High's power? No. Is he, well, since they don't really believe me, I'm not going to do this thing, because I need a certain portion of Israelites to believe me before I make a move on anything. No. That's not going to matter. Just bear with me 1 second. Romans 9:19. Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who has resisted his will? So nobody can resist or fight the Lord's will. So back in Romans 3:3, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? The Most High forbid. Yea, let the Most High be true. And how do we do that? By letting his words be true. It says, but every man a liar. Even King David said, I said in my haste, all men are liars. It says, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings and mightest overcome when thou art judged. Right. Why? Because we're putting it to you, laying it on the line the way that it's written. Giving you the sense of the scriptures, of what the Lord said. Breaking it down to you the right way. Now, if you receive it, beautiful. But if you don't receive it, then there's nothing else that we could do. We're striving for our salvation. And we're doing the work, because the Lord told us to do the work. But he said through the foolishness of preaching, he's going to save the ones that believe. Because technically what we're doing is foolish to the Lord. He don't need us to do this. But this is the way he set it up for us to do it. And that's how, he wants it done. And that's what we're going to do. In Lord's will, he keeps us inspired and pushing forward all the way to the end. All the way to the end. So going back, now we're going to Ezekiel 3:1. It says, moreover, he said unto me, son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go and speak unto the house of Israel. And that's all that we're commanded to do. Eat the roll, which is what? These scriptures. How do we eat them? With our mind, with our time. And then, after we eat it, go and speak unto the house of Israel. And so what are we supposed to speak to them about? Are we supposed to speak to them about the next debate? The black conscience and against the Hebrew Israelites? Are we supposed to be going to these different churches and debating these passages and all that. No, we're supposed to tell them what the Lord said. We're supposed to warn them that these things are coming. And if they're wise and they take heed that they're part of the elect, they're going to listen. If not, they're going to be destroyed. And that's the bottom line. So I opened my mouth and he caused me to eat that roll. And that roll was sweet and it became bitter, as he told the Apostle John, or as we read in the book of Revelation 10. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, meaning your mind to eat, to take in what you're reading out of these scriptures. And fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. Yeah, but eventually it becomes bitter. It becomes that stone of trial. And most will cast it away, but some will endure the grief and eventually receive the benefits from that grief. It says, and he said unto me, Son of man, go, get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with my words unto them. That's all we're supposed to be doing. Not giving them gimmicks, not, setting up soup kitchens to feed them with actual food, giving them sandwiches and potato chips, and water, but giving them the fruits, of the Spirit, the Word. We're serving up hot plates, out here in these streets, so that they can eat, so the sheep can eat, because they're hungry. For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech, and of a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of a strange speech and of a hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee. Yeah, these nations would have listened, but this message is not for them. The only part of the message that's for them is that they're going into captivity and that this world is going to be destroyed. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto me, for they will not hearken. They will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted. So Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, that, he opened up our minds to receive this truth. Because all Jake is hard-headed. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. As an adamant, harder than flint, have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, all my words that I shall speak unto thee, receive in thine ear, and hear with thine ears. Receive in thine heart, and hear with thine ears, meaning your mind and your spiritual ears, and go get thee to them of the captivity unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, thus saith the Lord power, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. Notice how the Lord keeps saying this over and over and over again. All right? I'm going to leave you with this last precept in the book of Ezekiel 33. And I believe it starts at 30. Yep. Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls and in the doors of the houses, and speak one to another, every one to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from the Lord. Right, and this is why you have a lot of scoffers, but you don't have as many scoffers scoffing as much now, because they see all the prophecies happening. But you still have people out there that watch this for entertainment. They watch it for entertainment purposes, not to be enlightened, not to see what is the message of the Lord, not to see, what is the next step in the Lord's blueprint, of what's coming. It says, and they come unto thee as the people cometh. Shalom. Shalom, brothers. And they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them, right? And I remember years ago being on 44th, we used to speak on 44th and Broadway. This is on the corner, and the people would gather, and because there was there were buildings there, but there was one building, the building on the very corner was pushed back a little bit so where they would be able to stand up in there. And I remember I was speaking one day, and they come to be entertained, and the spirit was on me to tell them, look, you brothers out there, you supposed to be doing the work, something along those lines. And they were like, oh, you could see the looks on their face, oh boy, here we go. But that's what you're supposed to be telling the people. Warning them of what's coming. And those that have the ability to teach, those men out there, Israelite men that have the ability to teach, get off your duff and teach. Don't hide the talent in the napkin, especially if you have the gift to teach. And they were all upset, I know they probably couldn't wait for me to come down off of there from speaking, but that's the spirit that was on me at the time. It says, for with their mouth they show much love. Oh man, Barakatayah, man, y'all brothers, man, y'all doing a mighty work. Oh man, beautiful. Oh. But their heart goeth after their covetousness, right? Because at the end of the day, they don't do the work of the Lord. They do their pleasure. It says, and lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that hath a pleasant voice. Oh man, I love the way y'all get down on the white man. Y'all be cursing them out. Oh man, I get a thrill from that. That just sets my mode right for the rest of the week. Oh man, yeah, I was having problems with my woman, and when y'all said that about the woman, man, that made so much sense, man. Oh wow, I just love it when y'all get on these people. And can play well on an instrument, because it's like a song to them. For they hear thy words, but they do them not. Right. Like Yahushua said, how would I liken this generation? And it's like children in the marketplace. They hear the song, but they won't dance. They won't dance to the tune. They won't do them. And when this cometh to pass, meaning what? The prophecies that have been spoken, especially on the MOTB, being the micro C hit, World War III, and the destruction, for lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. That's when they're going to know that the prophets have been among them. And they're going to be, in a world of hurt, because they're going to want to exercise at that time the things that they learned, that they know is the way of salvation, but it's going to be too late, because they didn't take heed and they didn't push when they were supposed to push, 2 Peter 1:19, we have also a more sure word of prophecy. See? So this is a sure word of prophecy. Matter of fact, let me look up that word, sure word. A more sure, because the word for word is logos, but the word sure is bebios. It says stable, fast, firm, sure, trusty. So you can bank on this. You can take this to the bank. Take this to the bank. I'll take that to the bank. Mess the lyrics up. I've been known to do that on these songs. So it says, we have also a more sure word of what? Prophecy. Whereunto you do well, that you take heed. So how do you do well? By taking heed according to this word, according to what's being said, so that you can be prepared for what's coming. As unto a light, because we've been enlightened, that shineth in a dark place. What's that dark place? Here in America today, and around the world. But mainly here in Babylon the Great, the shadow of death. It says, unto the day dawn, meaning until Yahushua comes back. And the day star arise in your hearts, meaning Yahushua. That's why the Apostle Paul said, oh, how I am pained until Yahushua be formed in you. Because once Yahushua is formed in you, then you'll be guided by the Lord Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua. You won't need your diapers changed and a bottle put in your mouth anymore and to be burped. Because you'll have, the necessary things for the Lord to to guide you directly. You know? It says, knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scriptures of any private interpretation. Right. We don't have any private interpretation. We have the interpretation that was given to us by Yahweh, by Shem Shai, to the prophets, to the Israelites. For the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but holy men of the Most High spake as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. And today we have the gift, you know, and the blessing to be able to break down these mysteries that were given to us to break down. Because the prophets didn't know what it meant. They just knew it was some horrifying stuff that they saw, and they knew that they were hoping that they were protected from these things in these days. But they didn't know what they meant, because they were given in many different forms and symbolisms and mysteries. You know? But the same prophets coming back, these mysteries are being revealed to them to give the sense to Jake out there, and the ones that are part of the elect are going to receive it and be sealed, and the rest are not. You know, so our job is to warn them. You know, we were told to warn them. You know, and it's not our job to try to make them believe it or not. Our job is to report what has been given to us, and if they are part of the elect, they'll receive it. If not, they'll scoff at it. But either way, there's going to be a payment. Those that believe will be saved. Those that don't believe will be destroyed. And that's the bottom line. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.